We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I don't want you guardrails. I want you to have nothing to do with speech.
Thank you, Jen. Sorry to see you go.
Are you?
Jen Psaki's last press conference, White House briefing before she moves on, probably taking $1 bajillion in MSNBC. Rand Paul eviscerates Secretary Mayorkas about the disinformation board. Lawless Los Angeles. Pelosi's trying to unionize the Hill. Oh my gosh, there's too much going on a Friday. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on a Friday. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is May 6th, the year of our Lord 2022. New you in 22. You should probably get that started because we're almost halfway through the entire year. A lot of stuff happened this week, so we're bringing a bunch of stuff to you. We have the longest clip we've ever played because I couldn't find a good spot to cut Rand Paul talking about disinformation at a Senate hearing. But I want to get to, where do we want to go first? I want to get to this because I feel like this is the most culturally relevant story out there. Over the weekend, Dave Chappelle was it over the weekend? Actually, I think it was Monday, maybe even Tuesday. Dave Chappelle got tackled on stage, and then the guy was immediately pummeled afterward. This video happened over the weekend. I'm going to play this video over here so you can kind of just see what things are like around this anti-police, we hate the cops, everyone is going to attack the cops society that we've now created, and then get into this whole thing about Dave Chappelle and Gascon, who's the DA of LA, who's not pressing charges against the guy, but we'll get to that in just a quick second. Let me play this clip. This is terrifying. If I were a police officer, and the police officers that I know, this is getting scary about how people are treating cops nowadays. Just watch this. We'll have some commentary later. It's about a minute long, so if you're just listening to this, sorry. Also, if you haven't already, click the little like button, click the little share button. Would really appreciate it. This is just a snippet of how things are in the United States now. So the guy just completely gets away and nobody does anything about it because, again, this is the culture that we're setting in the society. Also apologize. Thought this was the bleeped version. Didn't, I don't know. Hopefully everyone's ears are safe. But that is the culture that's being set across the country, specifically in Los Angeles County, where the district attorney has decided to not press charges against the guy who attacked Dave Chappelle on a stage. So, apparently now, and I don't know if Dave Chappelle is going to press charges. I don't know if he's made a statement about that. But apparently now, if you run on a stage during a rhetorical performance and tackle a guy, that's totally fine in the eyes of the Los Angeles County District Attorney, a guy named George Gascon. Thank goodness, by the way, there are a bunch of people that are livid about the way that this guy's handling Los Angeles County in not charging not only this dude who tackled Dave Chappelle, but really anybody with anything. There's a massive recall effort underway, and they're on pace to meet the signatures needed by the deadline in order to get him on the recall ballot later on this year. That's what's going on in LA. What's going on in DC? This is the longest clip we've ever played on this show, or will have ever played on this show. But I kid you not, I could not find a good place to cut it because Rand Paul just eliminates the idea of disinformation board run by the government, a disinformation board run by the government. This is Senator Paul. This is Alejandro Mayorkas is the Secretary of Homeland Security, which that's a whole other thing in and of itself. The Homeland Security being done at the border is not awesome if you haven't been following that. But Mayorkas was on the grilling table the other day, yesterday, I think, and Senator Paul took him to town. Watch this again. This is long. It's about a 4-minute clip, but every single second of it is awesome. If you haven't already, click the little like button, click the little share button. Really, really helps us out, especially on a Friday. Get to more people. Really, really appreciate you doing that. Watch this from Senator Paul's exchange with Mayorkas.
What this working group does, because it's not an office, what this working group does is ensure that there are guardrails, definitions, standards to make sure that the free speech rights, the civil rights, civil liberties, and privacy rights of individuals.
So do you think COVID disinformation threatens our national security?
And number two, if I may, Senator, and number two, is it your proposition that when the cartels spread disinformation with respect to our immigration policies to try to lure vulnerable migrants to our border illegally?
I think you've got no idea what disinformation is, and I don't think the government's capable of it. Do you know who the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world is? The U.S. government. Are you familiar with McNamara, the Pentagon Papers? Are you familiar with George W. Bush and the weapons of mass destruction? Are you familiar with Iran-Contra? I mean, think of all the debates and disputes we've had over the last 50 years in our country. We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I don't want you guardrails. I want you to have nothing to do with speech. You think we can't determine, speech by traffickers is disinformation? You think the American people are so stupid they need you to tell them what the truth is? You can't even admit what the truth is with the Steele dossier. I don't trust government to figure out what the truth is. Government is largely disseminating disinformation. So I do have a question, and here's the question. So the Russians, maybe some cartels. What about COVID disinformation? Is that in your bailiwick for your disinformation governance board?
Senator, you would have to give me the details with.
Okay, here. I've said a million times that cloth masks don't work. YouTube takes me down. They're a private company. I can have that beef with them. What about you? You're going to look at that? I often say that natural immunity from having had the infection is equal to the vaccine or better. You're going to take that down?
Well, first of all,
those are very specific.
Senator, first of all, it's not for us to take it down. And second of all,
are you going to put information out there saying that I'm spreading disinformation?
Senator, we are not the public health experts to make those determinations.
So public health won't be part of the disinformation governance board. No COVID disinformation. Yes or no?
Senator?
Yes or no? Is public health going to be part of your censorship group?
If somebody allow me, because you're presenting hypotheticals that are vague.
I just gave you a very specific one on cloth masks. I gave you a very specific one on immunity from previous infections.
I answered your question, but let me answer the last question that you posed. Do not, under any circumstances, accept a vaccine at a FEMA overseen vaccination center because they are actually peddling fentanyl. Now, should I sit back and take that, or should I actually disseminate accurate information? That's what we would do. Should FEMA issue accurate information that the vaccinations that we are administering in the sites that we oversee actually are the COVID-19 vaccines?
I have a greater respect for the American people than you do. I think the American people can figure out the truth. And if you think the American people need to be told there's not fentanyl in the vaccination, feel free to say it. But the thing is if you are going to go around saying that you are the arbiter of information and of disinformation, I think you have no clue. And you don't have the perspective history knowing that disinformation, the largest progenitor of disinformation in our history has probably been the U.S. government.
I've never said that, and actually I've said the exact opposite.
Thank you,
We
sir.
are not the truth police.
So many killer points there from Rand Paul. Just like, look, dude, one, what are you going to police and how are you going to police it? Because technically, pretty obviously, clearly speaking, the government as a whole has not been good on the whole truth thing, especially revolving around COVID. Now, Rand Paul said specifically, YouTube is taking them down. He said, they're a private company. I'll have my beef with them. That's fine. But what is the disinformation board supposed to do? Then Mayorkas laid out this ridiculous, just beyond ridiculous example. Well, what if somebody says there's fentanyl in the FEMA vaccination sites? To which Rand Paul said what I would say, clearly you don't have any respect for the American people, because the American people are not that freaking stupid, you elitist weirdo. That's where that's at. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on that. I feel like Rand Paul did a good enough job there. I want to get to this. This is Psaki and Ducey's final duel. Sad to see it go. But also, I don't know. It'll be interesting seeing the incoming press secretary take questions from the media. I've got a couple clips to play here. We'll discuss kind of in between them. Here's a little lighthearted, I guess, ish from Psaki and Ducey in exchange yesterday.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. Sorry to see you go.
Are you?
Yes, and you've always been a good sport.
Thank you.
So
As
on
have you.
behalf of everybody, thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything.
Thank
And
you.
I can't wait to see you up there, Kareem.
So, I don't know. I just played that because I feel like a lot of people looking into the swamp don't really understand the personal dynamic that people have there. Peter Ducey and Jen Psaki go at it constantly on an ideas basis, but are cordial and can be cordial. So just wanted to play that, just, I guess, some insight in case people don't see that sort of thing playing out in DC as things often do there. Then we get into the actual duel itself regarding abortion rights. Ducey asked Psaki some interesting questions, and she dodged most of them. Watch this.
The president's position on choice has evolved over time, so just checking for his official position. Does he support any limits on abortion right now?
Peter, the president has talked about his position many times. He supports the right of a woman to make choices about her own body with her doctor.
But I know that one of the Democrats that he endorsed and who won their primary this week, Tim Ryan, said yesterday that he does not support any limits on abortion. Is that where the president's thinking is now?
The president has stated his view many times.
So does the president support abortion up until the moment of birth?
The president has spoken about this many times, Peter, and I would refer you to his own comments about abortion and a woman's right to choose and make decisions about her body with her doctor, which is what any of those women would do.
So the answer there is yes. That's what the president and the White House is saying, that they support up to the second before birth. And in California, even after that, because there are crazy people that live in this godforsaken state. That would make President Biden and the White House and anybody else who believes that, including Tim Ryan, in the fringe minority of people. We've talked about this so many times. The majority of Americans, whether or not, I'm not making any arguments, I'm just stating facts, how the polling is. The majority of Americans think first trimester, maybe I'm uncomfortable with it, but fine, I guess, if it needs to happen. Second trimester drops off a cliff, and then third trimester, only the crazy people think you should be able to get an abortion there. So Joe Biden and the White House are apparently in that category. I want to play this last clip. This is the last clip we're going to see from Jen Psaki and Peter Ducey battling it out in the White House press briefing room. Watch this.
About yesterday, though, just about moving forward, these activists posted a map with the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices. Is that the kind of thing this president wants to help your side make their point?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness from many, many people across this country about what they saw in that leaked document. We obviously want people's privacy to be respected. We want people to protest peacefully if they want to protest. That is certainly what the president's view would be.
So he doesn't care if they're protesting outside the Supreme Court or outside someone's private residence.
I don't have an official U.S. government position on where people protest. We want it, of course, to be peaceful. And certainly the president would want people's privacy to be respected. But I think we shouldn't lose the point here. The reason people are protesting is because women across the country are worried about their fundamental rights that have been law for 50 years, their rights to make choices about their own bodies and their own health care are at risk. That's why people are protesting. They're unhappy. They're scared.
So in case you missed the question earlier, Peter Doocy said, hey, there's been a map of these SCOTUS houses where they live, of these 6 conservative justices on the court. You think that's okay? And Jen Psaki said, well, it's not up to me to decide where people protest. Obviously, we respect people's privacy, but people are upset, and that's what we're going to use to justify people going to the houses of the justices. Geez, we got a lot to get to still. Sorry, this is a busy day. Pelosi wants to unionize the Hill. We'll just cover this briefly. So by that, I mean, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is setting a minimum salary for staffers in the White House, in the House of Representatives, the first time that's ever been done, at $45,000, announcing a new minimum salary in the Dear Colleague letter to all members of Congress. So Pelosi is stating that White House staffers need to be paid a minimum of $45,000 per year. In case you're not familiar with how staffing in the on the Hill works, each congressional office and Senate office gets a budget, and that budget is set to pay whoever they want to do whatever they want in that particular office. Each senator and each congressperson gets to run their office as they so choose, and therefore can hire people for a lot of money or not all that much money. And the more people you have, obviously, the more work you're going to get done. And paying them very little allows you to hire more people. And also, getting a job as a Hill staffer generally leads to a pretty good financial trajectory. So there's that with how mobbed up DC is. Pelosi's now saying, well, you can't pay people nothing. You can't pay the White House interns, the Hill interns. I keep saying the White House. The Hill interns nothing. You have to pay them at least $45,000 a year, to which a lot of the Congress people and senators would have been saying, well, now I'm just going to be able to hire less people because I have a limited budget. And what's that going to do to my office staff? Pelosi said members are encouraged, and this is where I just it makes me so mad. Pelosi said that members are encouraged to use the 21% funding increase passed for offices in March to enact the pay adjustment. So basically, they voted themselves a bigger budget. And this is Republicans, Democrats, anybody who voted for this sort of thing, voted for more money from the taxpayers' pockets to pay White House, dang it, Hill staffers, not the White House. We're not talking about the freaking White House here. If only private businesses could vote themselves a bigger budget. The deadline for the White House offices and committees to implement this new $45,000 staffer minimum salary is September 1st. So there is that. Joe Biden, last thing we'll get to before we send you off into the weekend, kind of a funny thing. A little bit funny, a little bit, dude, this is just classic Biden. Just him saying things that aren't true and just kind of rolling onto it. Maybe it's because of his stutter, says everybody online when I make fun of Joe Biden. It's not his stutter, he's just a dumb guy. Now in his old age. And I don't like making fun of that, but that's just the situation that we've all put ourselves in. Watch Joe Biden say something that is not true at all, then we'll hit you with what's actually true.
25 out of every 100 children in grades kindergarten through senior in high school speak Spanish. 25 out of every 100. It's overwhelming the interest not only of those kids, but of all Americans, that we invest in the community, and we'll conquer and honor and lift up all those folks who, in fact, have gotten in the way.
So the president is saying that 25% of students K through high school speak Spanish. On its face, I kind of like, that sounds high. So I looked it up, and Forbes, the magazine, magazines, for those of you kids out there, are websites that were printed on paper for some reason. Forbes says that in the U.S., 13% of the population speaks Spanish at home, earning it the title of the most common non-English speaking language. So about half of all of Americans speak Spanish at home, which would make the 25% number astronomically high. And that sounded wrong to begin with. And not only did it sound wrong to begin with, it probably is wrong. Here's what I'll say now, though. Rand Paul, please don't yell at me for this. Thank goodness for the disinformation board, because clearly they're going to have to go after Joe Biden about spreading this disinformation. Did you see Joe Biden in that clip? You're kind of like watching, listening, probably thinking, I don't think that's true either. Not being able to do much about it. So there's that. That's going to do it for us today. I appreciate you all tuning in, sticking in, and sticking around the entire morning. All week. Thanks for doing so. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms at JOBOB, pretty much everywhere. I think with Elon Musk, I'm going to get the at JOBOB Twitter handle. I really hope so. I did trademark that. It is under my own trademark. So I don't know why Twitter already hasn't given it to me, but there's that. Give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Also on Getter, Truth, so YouTube, all of them. You can find me there. That's going to do it for us this week. We will see you next week. Anything happens over the weekend, you can catch it on any of the Daily Caller platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. They cover really, really good over there. We will see you next week on Monday for a brand new episode of Daily Caller Live. See you then. God bless America.